Man, I wish I could kiss whoever made mac and cheese on the mouth, you know that? How you guys doing? Welcome to the deck profile. This is Centurion, and I think this deck is still incredibly good and incredibly slept on, because even though last format, Snake Eye format, when the deck was starting to see a lot of success, a lot of people dropped it, partly because of two reasons, I think. Format change, so people wanted to try new things, and then also the fact that this deck operates in a very similar way to decks like Marincess, where it takes a very, very good pilot in order to make it shine. Especially because when you lose on interactions in this deck, it definitely hurts. You need to know when to time your hand traps, you need to know the ins and outs of your opponent's deck as well as the ins and outs of yours, because if you misplay, you are just not going to be able to make your board. But I've had a lot of success with this deck. I just had like a stroke there for a second. Had a lot of success with this deck, personally. And it's one of my favorite Synchro decks of all time. So I want to give you my deck profile and my reasonings for some things that I run, some things that I don't run. But let's go ahead and get into it, alright? So I'm going to start us off with the main deck monsters. Obviously I'm running the one of Gargoyle 2. This card is kind of a brick, and by kind of I mean it definitely is a brick, and for some reason it will not stay out of your hand. It is the lovely labyrinth of this deck. You do not want to see it, you do not want to perceive it, but it is always there, staring at you. Next up I am running 3 Primera, and before you say anything, no, I am not running Emmett. I'm not running Emmett. I'm not running Emmett Selk. I think that card is ass. I've already tried running it. I've seen the combos with it, the ways that it can help you. That card is awful. Please do not run that card. It genuinely just does not serve much purpose, and if anything, if you open it, it's just another gargoyle, but it's kind of worse if you open it, to be honest. You normally just want to have it in grave, and you don't really use it for any of the modern combos, so 3 Primera as well as 3 Trudea. Those 6 cards right there are just 1-card combos that get you to like double Blazar, or can get you to a Legatia and a Blazar, or just whatever you really need to get your ball rolling. And then the one of Atri, which Atri, sometimes it becomes an extender and sometimes it doesn't really do anything. It's definitely much better to open this than Gargoyle, because if you have like an Oath, and you use Oath and your monster gets impermed or something, you can just go normal Atri, and then just continue doing what you were doing, which is nice. And then I'm also running the Bestial package, so 3 Lubellion, 2 Druis Worm, 1 Magnamut. I've seen people running the one of Baldrake instead of one of my Druis Worms, but I do think that Druis Worm is honestly just kind of the way to go as either a 2 of or a 3 of. Primarily because it gets you more bang for your buck. Baldrake requires a bit more setup to really get it rolling. Like, you need the extra body to tribute. Normally you don't really have the extra body to tribute. The only times I've ever had the body that I wanted to tribute was whenever my initial combo got stopped and I just happened to have Bestials. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll summon the Baldrake and then I'll just have like a tribute to banish something. Also, Baldrake is not very good going into mounts. Like, the little known fact, I don't know if you knew that, but banishing cards that say that they want to be banished and they will revive themselves if you do, is essentially like playing Catch-22, but you've got a loaded shotgun that has a barrel at both ends, and you're the only one playing. So, that analogy made no goddamn sense, but just... it's okay. Moving on, I'm playing 3 Ash Blossom, as well as 2 Ghost Ogre, 2 Mourner, 3 Veilor, as well as 3 Droll and Lockbird. I think that these hand traps are perfect this format. Ghost Ogre helps you pump through things like the Ryzeal Field spell when they activate it before they make an XYZ. I mean, sometimes they'll make an XYZ before they activate it, but in those chances where they don't, you can just Ghost Ogre it and, you know, be done with it. And then also, in instances where they make Detonator and they're going effect, you can go to Chain Ghost Ogre, force the field spell to want to negate the Ghost Ogre, because if, you know, they don't negate it and they lose the detonator, then they're just not going to have a negate. Droll, just very good in general for this format. A lot of decks are searching right now, a lot of decks are searching more than once especially. So limiting their searches is very good for kind of keeping the flow running towards, or the wind in your favor, you know? Ash is Ash Blossom, Ash will always be good. Valor's Valor, Valor will always be good. You're just playing a Marenta style deck where you dump all of your hand traps and you go normal summon effect, and then if they don't stop it, you're like, cool, I'm ending on like 2 interactions and then I'm drawing a shit ton, so. Moving on to the spells, I'm running 3 stand-up Centurion. This is pretty standard. It's just your bread and butter of the deck, as well as 3 Emblem of Oath. It's also your bread and butter of the deck. These 6 as well are also 1-card combos that get you to everything. Emblem of Oath is a little weird though, because if you open only Emblema, then you probably shouldn't make the level 8 Synchro, because the level 8 Synchro only searches Emblema. If you've already used Emblema, there's no point in making it. However, if you have an extender, you can make the level 8 Synchro, search for another Emblema Oath, just to get, like, I don't know, a Phalanx or something on your opponent's turn. You wouldn't be able to use Phalanx on your opponent's turn, but that's besides the point. The point is, having the level 8 Synchro in your graveyard is very important for if your opponent can crack your board. Because if they can crack your board, that Primera Synchro is going to summon itself and then go search, pop 2. So you can literally just go set the oath you searched off of it, and then you can go, say they out your Auxilla, you go effect summon. You can go chain, and then chain the oath, set the Phalanx from deck. On resolution of the Primera Synchro, you can go pop the Phalanx you set, pop a card your opponent controls, and then grab an oath from grave. So it's just very, very good to do that. And I try to do it when I can. Sometimes though, if I'm afraid of Nib, I will not go that route, because Nib does kind of throw things out of whack. You can still do some combos through Nib, or do combos that don't allow your opponent to nib you, or they nib you at an inopportune time for them, and I'll showcase those later. One of Wake Up Centurion, I am not running Bonds, and I've been testing this deck for months, and in all of my testing, hours a day, figuring things out. Bonds, you do not need it. You do not need Bonds at all. It is a win more card. Almost everyone will tell you this. I mean, some people will say, no, you have to run Bonds in case you open Gargoyle. Even in instances where I open Gargoyle, I don't need Bonds. Bonds, you just don't need it. I will show you what you do need here in a second, though. Terraforming, that's not the card you need. You'll see, I'll mention the card later. But Terraforming, just another copy of, you know, the field spell. 1 Branded Regained. If you wanted to, you could run Etude of the Branded, because Etude gives you another Synchro Summon on your opponent's turn, and it makes it so that your opponent's monsters that are used for an extra deck summon, or a tribute summon, or a ritual summon are banished instead of being sent to the graveyard. Which is very important for some strategies, like if you're playing against, say, for example, Voiceless Voice, and they tribute the low to ritual summon, then that low is now banished, and they can no longer get it back, for the most part. Little disclaimer, for the most part. So Etude is definitely an option, and I was testing Etude for a while, and it was really good because it would allow me to go into double Blazar and then Chaos Angel on my opponent's turn. So that might be something you want to look into, and I do think that there will be formats where Etude is a lot better, but right now it's not, so I'm using Regained instead. And then the One of Prosperity, this doesn't really conflict, because I mean, most of the times you only draw like once on your turn off of Atri, and sometimes you can get the Regained draw, but that's usually if you're forced to go into the SP line, so it doesn't happen very often. And then for traps, I'm running 3 Infinite Impermanence, and this is going to be the card that I have actually bumped up. So, Centurion Phalanx to 2. 2 Centurion Phalanx. Now, some might wonder, why are you running 2 Phalanx over the one of Bonds? Well, Bonds is a win more card. Phalanx is not a win more card. Phalanx is something that accomplishes a couple of different things. Number one, it allows you to revive your Auxilla or your 𝐒𝐿𝐴 or just any Centurion synchro that you may need at any given point. It also serves as, number two, an interruption. So for example, if you already have 2 cards, like let's say you opened Primera and you opened, let's say, like Oath, or you opened the field spell or something, that means that with Auxilla, you're able to search an additional card instead of searching exactly what you need for combo. Having the second Phalanx is going to do so much more than just searching Bonds and putting an additional 1 or 2 monsters on your in your spell and trap zone. The only time that matters is if you're running a Tude, where you can synchro summon twice on your opponent's turn. But you already have access to being able to synchro summon twice on your opponent's turn with a Tude, because if you have a Tude, either number 1 you bricked and you opened it, or number 2 you saw 𝐒𝐿𝐴. And if you saw 𝐒𝐿𝐴, that gives you everything you need. Because with Auxilla, you can just go place a tuner, and then you can go, hey, also by the way, I'm gonna place something else with like 𝐒𝐿𝐴, but you can also just treat the Trudea as a tuner for Chaos Angel. So, like, you already have everything you need there. But like I said, it accomplishes a couple of different things. It allows you to compete in the grind game a little better. It allows you to search something off of Auxilla whenever you already have full combo. That serves as an additional interruption. And then the other thing is, it's just the best discard off of the field spell, 1000%. Because if you discard this off the field spell, you no longer have to use Wake Up to dump it from deck. And it solves that issue of, oh, I need to use Wake Up to dump it from deck, but if my opponent has Ash, then I'm not making that second synchro. So it accomplishes that problem. Just gives you a higher chance of opening it and discarding it and so on and so forth. Also with 2, the odds of you going like Primera, search, and then they're like, yeah, I'm gonna droll here, or so on and so forth. If you call it right, you can just grab Phalanx and be like, yeah, I already have everything I need, and they'll draw you, and you're like, okay, well, I searched Phalanx, so like that droll is not going to affect me nearly as much as if I hadn't searched Phalanx, because now I can at least make 1 synchro with an extender in my hand, and then I can just set the Phalanx as the second interruption. Moving on to extra deck, because I've been talking about main deck for a long time now. We have 1 Crimson Dragon, pretty self-explanatory, 1 Bestial Dissipator, self-explanatory, as well as 1 Chaos Angel, self-explanatory. I think that Dissipator is a lot more important now, because with Malice in the format, your opponent is going to potentially have, or your opponents are going to be more consistently banishing cards. I wasn't running this before, but when Malice released, there's a lot of Malice going around. Dissipator puts a lot of pressure on Malice. If Malice sees a Dissipator on the field, that's something that they have to solve immediately, because it can negate any of their monster effects. There's no way around it. They're just gonna go activate effect. Okay, shuffle from your field, negate. It's something they have to deal with in the moment. Chaos Angel has always been good in this deck because you can make it with a light and a dark, using the Bestials and Primera or what have you. It's always been good in the deck. Also, before you guys say anything, I know these sleeves are mismatched. I am too lazy to re-sleeve all of this shit just for a deck profile, so here you go. Anyway, to Blazar. I have seen the trend of people running the Cypher Divine Dragon. If you guys don't know what it does, it is a monster negate, and then you get to pop a card on the field. But also, it gives all of your cards protection from card destruction once each, which is really good. And then it has another effect where if it dies, it revives a Stardust Synchro from your graveyard, which doesn't really matter all that much. It's mainly Blue Eyes using that card. I have seen some Centurion lists running it, but I think that 𝐒𝐿𝐤𝐴𝑟 is, by all means, just completely better. Because if your opponent Dark Rollers you, the Cypher is going to lose all of its effects. You are not going to be able to use everything besides the Revival effect when it dies, but you don't run the Stardust Synchros anyway. 𝐒𝐿𝐤𝐴𝑟, on the other hand, if your opponent goes like Dark Roller, Imperm, whatever, you can go 𝐒𝐿𝐤𝐴𝑟 effect, negate, banish its cost, and then your end phase it'll come back. Which is so much better than just losing out on the important monster you summon off of Crimson, because when this comes back, it's going to be live again. And that is so much scarier than just having like a dead body on the field that can't do anything. 2 𝐒𝐤𝐴𝑚. I love this card. I wish I could run it at 3. I really wish I could, but I can't. Genuinely. I love drawing cards, it's fun. 1 Auxilla. Some people will run 2 of Auxilla. You don't need to. It's like a trap for people that are new to the deck, I think. Your only goal with Auxilla is to finish your combo. To get you to that last Centurion card you need to finish making a second synchro. That is Auxilla's express purpose. Aside from games 2 and 3, where you're sighting in floodgates that you want to protect with it, like deck lockdown and so forth. 𝐒𝐤𝐴𝑚, and this is something that people forget, 𝐒𝐤𝐴𝑚 has the effect to place on back row. Same thing as Auxilla. Auxilla is from Hand Engrave, I believe, or maybe it's Banished Engrave. It is Banished Engrave, and Auxilla is Hand Engrave. There are instances where you're going to have Gargoyle in hand, and you can just go 𝐒𝐤𝐴𝑚 effect, place it from hand. 𝐒𝐤𝐴𝑚 effect, place something from grave. Auxilla is really only good for like those times you like go first, open a Bestial, you banish H3 from grave, and then you go Auxilla in phase, place it from banished. Is only good in the first turn, and for the floodgates. 𝐒𝐤𝐴𝑚 is so much better in every single other instance, because it is an interruption, and it also draws you a card. And it also protects your SP from battle. So you can make an SP and you can just like summon a Primera or something, or like a H3 or whatever, and just kind of want to hold on to it until something is special summoned so that you can go field spell effect to quick sync. Your opponent can't just go battle phase and hit over them with 𝐒𝐤𝐴𝑚 on the field. So it is very important. But yeah, anyway, double 𝐒𝐤𝐴𝑚, 1 Auxilla, 2 Primus. You could theoretically cut Primus down to 1. I do not think it is wise to cut it down to 1, because I have run into instances where I needed an Oath to get to full combo after being hand-trapped on the first Primus. So I do think it is important to run the second one. I have seen lists where they run the 1 of, and while I don't necessarily disagree, I do think that 2 Primus is just the way to go. 1 Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend, this is just for time, and also there are some instances where you will see your opponent has multiple bodies on the board, and the best example I can give here is like Dark World. And rather than going into, say, 𝐒𝐤𝐴𝑚 to get a single pop, you can just go summon Trudea, summon H3, draw a card. Trudea is a level 4, you go field spell to quick sync into Scarlet, and you just wipe their whole board. I've done it a couple times, and it has been wonderful every single time I've done it. There was only one time it got negated, but it was because my opponent had a set Imperm and game state was kind of messy, so. Moving on to the non-synchros, I'm running 1 IP. This is mainly for like, if you get hand-trapped and you have Bestials, and speaking of Bestials, you know, 1 Magistus Artemis, this is also just for, same thing, you get hand-trapped and you have Bestials, as well as the SP. If you get hand-trapped and you have Bestials, make SP, so on and so forth. It's super easy, I can just show you here in a second. And then the last card was a Bagooska, because there were times where I would actually try to go into a synchro monster and I would get debarriered, but making SP or IP were not optimal into certain boards. Like, for example, I was playing against a 𝐒𝐮𝐻 player a while back. I got debarriered for synchros. So my game plan was, okay, if I can't make synchros, then I'm gonna make this Bagooska that I put in my extra deck to stall a few turns. Instead of making SP, which isn't going to really save me anything. If anything, it's just going to give them something to smack into, you know? They could just not activate anything, go battle phase, hit me for 16, and then just kind of slow play the clock down, you know? But because I put Bagooska in my extra deck, it actually saved me the game. I was able to amass enough to play through multiple cards, and then also just ash them or make their 𝐒𝐻 miss timing. OG 𝐒𝐻, because it's a 1 effect. So like, for example, I would go Chainlink 1 to draw, and then Chainlink 2 to pop something. And I would go like, pop 𝐒𝐻, draw a card. They would go, oh, I'm going to attempt to activate 𝐒𝐻. And I'd be like, oh, well, unfortunately it's a 1 effect, so you will not be able to activate 𝐒𝐻 because it wasn't on the first chain. It wasn't the last thing to happen, you know. But that's extra deck. For side deck is pretty simple actually. To reflect the new format, I'm running 3 Pankratops because this is kind of just like, I think it's better than Cosmic Cyclone if I'm being honest. Because you can just go special Pank, you can deal with multiple problematic cards. It is a little worse in the 𝐒𝐮𝐲𝐽, so just be wary about that. But if you're playing against like Malice and they do the IP board, you can just go special and you can go battle, try to force out the IP. Very nice. As well as 3 Phantasme. I do not have any of the Molchummies, or whatever they are called. I don't have any of them, so this is just kind of like the next best thing. Also, it's really funny to go like, yeah, I'm gonna draw like 2, 3, whatever, because you're playing Malice. Against Malice. It does nothing against 𝐒𝐮𝐲𝐽, most cases, almost every case, unless they're running like a weird variant. 3 deck lockdown, this is just one of the cards that you put and pair with Auxilla, because genuinely, if you go deck lockdown with Auxilla, and your opponent let you get that far, then it's probably GG's for them. 2 Cosmic Cyclone, as well as 1 Harpy's Feather Duster. This could realistically be evenly, to be honest, but I liked the quick play ability of Cosmic, and I don't typically enjoy giving up my battle phase, especially in this deck, because in this deck you can do a shit ton of damage. And then finally, a skill drain, an anti-spell, and a there can be only one, just to round out the floodgates that your opponent would not like to play through. Also, I will give you my reasoning for skill drain, which is very funny actually. So let's say you establish Blazar. So skill drain, I mean, I'm sure most of you know this, but skill drain is on field effects, correct? When Blazar negates, it leaves the field. It is no longer a monster that is resolving its effect on the field. Or well, I mean, technically it is. So, like, the effect is resolving on the field, but the monster is no longer here. So skill drain will not be negating the effect to negate something, because it banishes its cost. Very, very funny interaction. I've made double Blazar before with Auxilla, and I will go, my opponent will go, oh, I'll activate a Lightning Storm. I'll chain Blazar negate. Can I read Blazar? Yeah, sure. It banishes for cost, yep. You wanna activate another one? I got another Blazar for you. Can you play through double Blazar? With like 4 hand traps? Go on, go ahead. I dare ya. Okay, in phase, bring these back. Oh, you're gonna activate an effect? I'll banish and negate. Okay, it's still in phase, so I'll bring it back. Because the in phase effect is not once per turn. So if you banish to negate, it will continue to bring itself back as long as your opponent has effects to activate in the in phase. So funny. Now, if you guys want combos, I can show you the Oath combo with... I can just show you the Oath combo, so you can just go Oath. And then from here you just go, hey, I'm going to place 𝐒𝐮𝐩𝐩𝐸, summon 𝐒𝐮𝐩𝐸𝐸 effect, place, and then place Primera, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. You're going to Primera effect summon. Primera is going to search for your wake up. You're going to wake up here, and don't forget you need a monster card in the spell trap zone to use wake up, which is why in the Blue Eyes version it's really cool. You use the new Magistus fusion to, or you use the Blue Eyes spell to equip a fusion to your Blue Eyes, and then you can go wake up because you now have a monster card in the spell and trap zone. And you can also make the Magistus fusion and use that to make, I believe, 𝐒𝐥 or Primus, either one of those. Really funny. So here you go wake up, you summon your token. And then here you can go ahead and do wake up if you want to just dump the phalanx straight out the gate. Here you're gonna synchro the Primera and the token off. And the token is going to be level 8 in this instance, because I'm pretending that I do not have an extender. For 𝐒𝐥, 𝐒𝐥 is going to search for your if I can find it. Stand up. Which actually, now that I'm thinking about it, if I were to make the 8 first, grabbed another oath, I wouldn't have the stand up, which is fine. But just, no, this is definitely the optimal way. So you go activate stand up effect, and discard a card, and then you're going to place from deck. Normally here, I place the 𝐒𝐮 just to get the draw. You can place a gargoyle if you want to, but 𝐒𝐮 is genuinely just the better one, so you're gonna go summon 𝐒𝐮 effect to draw a card, because you have Oath and a Centurion engrave. And then from here, you're going to go in phase. 𝐒𝐥 is going to place the Primera on the back row, so now your monsters can't be destroyed by card effect. And now you have the Phalanx engrave, so if they kill the 𝐒𝐥, you can bring it back. Or if you make 𝐒𝐥, you can bring it back if they kill it as well. And so now you can pass turn, your opponent's turn. You can go summon 𝐒𝐮𝐩𝐸𝐸, and you can click sync into something, like say 𝐒𝐥, Crimson Dragon, whatever. If I recall though, there is also a different way to do this combo, where you go Oath, and you go place Primera, and you go Primera effect summon, Primera effect search for 𝐒𝐮𝐩𝐸𝐸, normal 𝐒𝐮𝐩𝐸𝐸 effect place, and then place the gargoyle from deck. So then here you can go special gargoyle as a level 8, and you can go Primera and gargoyle into your 𝐒𝐥. 𝐒𝐥 is going to search for your stand-up, and you can chain 𝐒𝐥 to get through Ash. So you can add your stand-up, and then you can go activate stand-up. This, however, is going to get rid of the 𝐒𝐮𝐩𝐸𝐸, so you can go stand-up, discard a card, place the 𝐒𝐮 from deck. Then you can go gargoyle, send the 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐸𝐸 special, and then you can go 𝐒𝐮 effect special, draw a card, and then sync into your Crimson Dragon. And then you can go Crimson Dragon effect, target the 𝐒𝐥, summon the Blazar, and then so on and so forth. You can do it that way. That is the better way. That is the most optimal way. But if you don't want to commit too hard, you can just do the prior way and kind of hold. You can hold the 𝐒𝐮 if you want to and just end on 𝐒𝐥 if you're afraid of Nib. So now, as far as dealing with Nib goes, let's let's say you have just one of your 1-card starters. Let's say you have Primera. And then I'll just draw cards for the sake of it. 2, 3, 4. Cool. So, yep, okay. So you go normal Primera, and then you go with that. Here you can safely grab, like, I wouldn't do Wake Up because you don't have a thing on backward just yet. If you had 𝐒𝐮𝐩𝐽, and you normal 𝐒𝐮𝐽𝐽, you could go for Wake Up right off the bat. Because you don't, you kind of want to go for Stand Up. You can go Stand Up here, and then you can go Stand Up effect and discard 𝐒𝐮𝐽𝐽 place from deck. A 𝐒𝐮𝐽𝐽. Special 𝐒𝐮𝐽𝐽 effect place, and then place from deck a Gargoyle. So you've now summoned 1, 2, and then this will be 3. So 3 times. Going to synchro these 2 off into your Primera. You're gonna go effect the Primera, chain Gargoyle, add to hand, and then search for Oath. So this is 4 summons. You can go Oath to place the H-Tree from deck. Now, this is where your opponent might try to be careful. Because you can go effect here to special, and you'll go effect the draw. If they have nib, they're going to chain here, in which case you could chain stand up, or you could go, for example, well, if they nib you here, it's kind of rough. But if they don't nib you here, normally they try to wait until you make Crimson Dragon or something so that they know that the nib is absolutely going to hit and remove stuff from the board. But if they don't nib here, you're going to draw a card. And then also having Bestials are going to be like a godsend against nib. You can synchro these 2 off. Or Auxilla effect the search. Here you're going to do the Wake Up. You're going to go activate Wake Up to summon a token. So you're going to summon your token, and then you're going to banish it from your graveyard to dump a Phalanx. Now, if they haven't nibbed you here, you're going to go in phase. And you're going to do all of this on in phase. So you're going to go activate Phalanx to summon the Primus. Also, this token is a level 4, just for those of you who don't know, and make sure to specify that with your opponent. So on Failing Summon, you're going to go Stand Up effect and in phase to synchro these 2 out into like a 𝐒𝐮𝐩𝐽𝐽 or something. Because I have the Druid's Worm and an Ash, I mean honestly, the additional draw would be nice, so I may just do that. And I didn't do the Bestial combo just because, so make 𝐒𝐮𝐽𝐽𝐽 and then you can place 2, because now you control 𝐒𝐮𝐽𝐽 and Auxilla. So you can place Primera to protect against card destruction, and you can place H-Tree back here, just for the draw, and then sync on your opponent's turn. That is a way that you can play through nib. Playing through nib is a little easier on 𝐒𝐮𝐽𝐽, but it is the easiest on when you have stand up or when you have oath. Because when you have either of these cards, you're conserving your normal summon. And it makes it so much easier to just be like, okay, I'm gonna try to do my combo. Oh, you nibbed me? Alright, normal summon. And then I'll just work from here. It is definitely easier with 𝐒𝐮𝐽𝐽 though, just because you can get the Phalanx in grave early. So you can go normal 𝐒𝐮𝐽𝐽, place Primera. Primera effect summon, Primera effect search. You can search the Wake Up, go Wake Up, summon a token, because you have a monster card in the back zone, and then you can go Wake Up, banish, dump a Phalanx from deck. And the token is level 4, so you're gonna go 1-2 into your Primera. The only bad part about this combo is they can Ash the Primera here, because you're not using Gargoyle to make it. So here you're going to grab your Oath, and then you're going to activate Oath to place your 𝐒𝐮. You're going to activate the 𝐒𝐮 to special and draw. This will be 4th summon. You're going to draw a card. And you should also have like 2, 3, 4 in hand? Yeah, 4 more in hand, so you should have 1. This will be engraved. 2, 3, 4. You should have 5 in hand. Then you're going to synchro these 2 off for your 𝐒𝐿𝐤. You go effect here to search. Or stand up. This is 5th summon. So because this is 5th summon, you can go stand up here. Activate effect to discard in place. So we're just going to discard like whatever this is. Place the gargoyle. It's in my hand, isn't it? It is. We're just gonna do that, sure. If gargoyle was in, if I knew gargoyle was in my hand, I would have done the combo completely differently, but because hands where gargoyle is like actively there, instead of doing the stand up to place from deck, you would just go gargoyle, send 𝐒𝐮, summon itself, and then you go stand up, place like another 𝐒𝐮 or something from deck. But we're gonna place the gargoyle from deck, and then because they can only be special summoned during the main phase, it is kind of awkward dealing with nib in that regard. So you could just kind of sit here and be like, okay, I'm gonna go in phase, and if your opponent nibs you there, then you can just be like, alright, I'll just get rid of the gargoyle, or the 𝐒𝐿𝐤, and then you can just go, hey, by the way, I'm gonna go Phalanx effect, I guess. Summon the 𝐒𝐿𝐤 back, like, congratulations. Then I go gargoyle effect, summon. And if you have a bestial, you can just kind of do bestial stuff. And then after that, you can just go in phase and go, hey, 𝐒𝐿𝐤 place, 𝐒𝐮, pass turn, effect special, sync. So playing around nib definitely takes some mind gaming. If you open the 𝐒𝐮, it's a lot easier though, because like I said, you're getting the trap engrave early, as opposed to later. And normally you want to be like, if you think they have nib, you want to be like, yeah, I'm gonna go in phase here on 5th summon with 𝐒𝐿𝐤, and then your opponent's like, that's kind of weird. Okay, I guess I will just dump the nib on them, sure. Like for example, that happened to me when I was playing against a Tenpai, it was Tenpai Fiendsmith? I think it was Tenpai Fiendsmith. If I recall correctly, yeah. They nibbed me, so I just brought back the 𝐒𝐿𝐤, and I had deck lockdown up. And my opponent was like, okay, so I can't summon from deck. I was like, no. You also can't add from deck. Except by drawing. They're like, okay, this is an issue. It was pretty good. And then I also de-barriered them, so it was kind of just like a cherry on top. And then on top of that, I was running the red supernova dragon. And I just wiped their board with red supernova. I took red supernova out because there was an instance, well, 2 instances actually, where I tried the red supernova and my opponent actually, or I made red supernova, and the first opponent, this was like back during Snake Eye format, but my first opponent was, I was like, okay, I make red supernova here instead of Blazar, and I just wait until he's like on Flamberge and I just banish everything. Because what are the odds that he drew into Talents, right? By God, he drew into Talents, let me tell you. Because he took my red supernova and then killed me the same turn, and I was like, okay, awesome. I'm gonna do some test stands here, like 5 test stands, just to show you guys consistency though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have full consistency here with multiple extension. Going second though, this is going to be, you're going to be trading cards with your opponent to try to make your board. So your most important ones here, you want to conserve the 𝐒𝐮𝐩𝐩𝐸 effect. You can safely use the Oath, and you don't want to use stand-up unless you know that you can kind of bait around effects. So, for example, if you were to go activate stand-up, and they're trying to respond to the activation by popping it, you can go chain Oath to place from deck. And now that you control a Centurion card, it can't be popped anymore. And same thing with going like normal 𝐒𝐮𝐩𝐸𝐸, and then your opponent's like, yeah, I'll let it go through. Then you go activate, excuse me, that's a activate stand-up. Your opponent's like, ah, shit, alright, yep, yeah, you're good. For a 6 card though, the card is Ash, which is very unfortunate, but hey, at least you... I guess you technically have your discard, but you could also just discard Failings and use it that way. But yeah, that's full combo. So, 1 out of 5 hands, full combo, very nice. Combo, or hand number 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The hand is not full combo, but it is interesting. We have a Dragon Tuner with a bunch of hand traps. So the way I would probably navigate this is by going normal effect Veiler, and then linking it off for the Artemis. Going Magnemite effect to banish the Veiler, summon itself, and then Magnemite effect for end phase. So then you can just go the Artemis and the Magnemite straight into SP. Now also, there are some weird instances where your opponent hand traps you when you've got like multiple bodies on the board. And in cases like those, you can genuinely just make IP with like a Bestial or multiple Centurion bodies, and then you can just use the IP on your opponent's turn with a Bestial. So for example, you can go, my favorite thing to do with IP is I'll go make IP this turn. My opponent's like, you have no monsters, so clearly you have to have something in hand, right? So they'll start doing their turn, and I'll go, okay, I'm gonna Druid Swarm here to banish something I made IP with, summon, and then I'll go IP effect on summon to go into SP. So I'll go Chainlink 1 SP, Chainlink 2 Druid Swarm, target, banish, send, and if they chain something, I can go SP effect, banish something else. So it's crazy. I love that combo so much. Okay, so this hand was kind of a dud, but it is still like playable. Because, for example, you're gonna go Magnemite effect here, and you're gonna search for... You could search a Rebellion if you wanted to, just to have something for next turn. God knows you're not gonna search another Druid Swarm unless you really wanted to, but you know, you kind of just deal with what you got. So you can go, you could do that, but you could also just like keep what you have in your hand. And instead you could just go, yeah, I'm just gonna let them try to play through it. So you go Veiler, cool, Droll if you need to, which is unfortunate because you have the Magnemite, but you can go Magnemite effect or Druid Swarm effect and kind of just like play around stuff. Try to keep yourself alive, and then next turn you, well, actually you would search before, actually no Droll was there, so yeah, you would draw stand up, and then you're definitely in a good space here because now you can just go activate stand up. You can go, or before that you can go Druis and Magna, presuming they haven't killed them, into SP, go effect, or not effect on summon, but Druid Swarm effect to send something. And then you can go activate stand up, discard the H-Tree, and then place a Primera from deck and just do full combo. So, second hand was not optimal, but it was playable. You're at least stopping your opponent from doing quite a bit. 4, 5. This is another one. This is another one, but hey, at least you have the Rebellion to where you can do the regained play. So let me just show you guys that. So with this play, you go for Magnemite off the Rebellion. You're gonna normal the Veiler, and you're going to make the Magistus. Then here you're gonna go Magnemite effect, banish the Veiler, summon itself, Magnemite effect for in phase. Tribute with 𝐒𝐮𝐩𝐻𝐢𝐚 effect to search, or to place from deck, excuse me. The regain. And then here you can go 𝐒𝐮𝐻𝐢𝐚 and the Artemis into your SP. You're going to activate the SP effect, banishing the Artemis. You're going to activate Regained to shuffle the Artemis back into your extra deck and then draw a card. Which is a truest worm. Very unfortunate. So from here you can go in phase and then search off of the Magnemite. The other Druid's Worm. That is like the only thing I hate about running double Druid's Worm over the Baldrake. But I mean it's fine because, you know, Druid's Worm is, it can be two interactions or it can be one. So here you go past turn, your opponent's turn, you can go Druid's Worm effect. You can banish like a rebellion or something from your opponent's grave. And you can go Regained, bottom deck it, draw one. And then now your combo's online at least. And you have Imperm, SP, double Droll in case they have Called By, I guess. So that was hand 3. On to hand 4. In 5 test stands, I normally don't break this much. I call it a brick, but I've won a lot of games actually just drawing hands like that. 4 or 5, yeah, you have full combo here, plus 3 hand traps and a discard. So you go normal Judea full combo, and then you have these as backup. Very good. Now, of course, if you're going against a deck that is just main decking a crap ton of stuff, then yeah, it's gonna be rough. Like, main decking a crap ton of hand traps, and yeah, it's gonna be rough. But you know, you gotta... What's that old saying? You gotta take the cock with the balls or something like that. Final test hand, so Ogre, Primera, 𝐒𝐮𝐻𝐢𝐚, Phalanx, Magnemite. And it's crazy. Aside from the Magnemite, I suppose, because you're going to be doubling up on Druid's Worm again. But having Primera and 𝐒𝐮𝐻𝐢𝐚 allows you to actually do the IP play. Because you can go normal Primera effect, the Impermit, you can go activate 𝐒𝐮𝐻𝐢𝐚. Actually, can you do the IP play with this? You should be able to. You can if you banish the 𝐒𝐮𝐻𝐢𝐚 or Magnemite. But that means you don't get the draw. So maybe just doing the SP play is better. If this goes through though and they stop you on something else, like, let's say they stop you on, oh, I'm going to, I don't know, nib you on Pet Summon, you can at least make the IP and so forth. Or at least make, like, do your synchro again. So. One more test hand just for the fun of it. Phalanx is really glued, isn't it? Holy crap. I would prefer this over the Bonds, though, if I'm being honest. If this was Bonds instead, I'd be looking at this hand like, dang, this kind of sucks, doesn't it? Bonds also does have a little more merit than I give it credit for. Bonds does allow you to go into IP more consistently, because, for example, if this Phalanx were a Bonds, I could go activate, place a Primera from hand, special Primera, they Impermit, I'm like, okay, cool. I guess I'm gonna normal this Ogre and then make IP here. And then after that you can just go, hey, by the way, on your turn I'm gonna Druid's Worm, IP effect, Link, into SP, and then go Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2, send, banish. So, there's always that option. But yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed the deck profile. Thank you for watching, and if you haven't subscribed yet, you should do that. Drop a follow. That's the same thing as subscribing, isn't it? Listen, it's almost 6 in the morning, alright? Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Leave a comment down below if you have any recommendations for other players, because, I mean, I'm very comfortable with this list. I wouldn't change it much, I think, unless it depends on the format, obviously, but yeah. Thank you guys.